Happy New Year, welcome back for a new edition of Video Game Pickups. This is a special retro edition in honor of the New Year 2023. Hard to believe, it's already New Year's. But with that said, first up I wanted to show a special ROM that I got that was custom done for the Sega Dreamcast and even went out of the way to make sure that it has like a traditional style case and everything, though this is a custom ROM as Half-Life 1 was never released on the Dreamcast. It was only released specifically for the PS2. But this is a pretty cool little, like, custom ROM that I got, and I love it just for its uniqueness and standout. But with that said, on to the actual regular games. First up we have a recent pickup for the Sega Genesis, an all-time classic platformer, in my opinion. It's one of my personal favorites. Vector Man is truly an all-time classic of the Genesis era, and it looks amazingly good. I think it's one of the best-looking platformers of this era. Yeah, the case is not in the best pristine shape, but I did get this for a reasonable price range, keep in mind. And I just wanted to quickly show, and there, I always prefer the regular full plastic cases over these cardboard ones. Personal opinion, though. Still, it is great to have the official. Next up we have, with just a plastic reproduction case, I think, somewhat underrated. Yes, it's not one of the greatest, but keep in mind there were not a lot of JRPGs on the N64. It was predominantly multiplayer, like sports games and platformers, predominantly. With also some fighting games sprinkled in, but yeah. RPGs were actually a few and far in between on the N64, strangely enough. But this is a game I personally have a weird fondness for. And it's a great early, like, RPG in my opinion, such as like Final Fantasy, Mystic Quest and stuff. That's how I consider Quest 64. But with that said, I actually do think this is a great game, and you can get very cheap compared to most games on the 64. So if you get a chance to get for a reasonable price, pick up Quest 64 and enjoy a more or less just vanilla JRPG, but still it's a fun experience, and it is great to have at least one or two RPGs on the N64. Next up, for the Saturn, I already had the American version, but I wanted to get the Japanese version. Of course, Virtual Fighter 2, which in many people's opinions is the greatest Virtual Fighter game of the franchise. In many people's opinions, and I'm not going to argue that. It definitely has a nostalgia factor for me, personally, as Virtual Fighter 2 really did leave an impact on me, is one of the reasons I got into 3D fighting games in the first place. Though Virtual Fighter Remix was really the one that really first introduced me to the franchise as a whole. Still, I love the Japanese case design and everything, and logo design more on the Japanese over the American. Next, we have, of course, as I've already talked about, Rayman 2. Back in the day, I only played the PS1 version of this game, so it's nice to have what is considered to be the best version, or best port of Rayman 2, The Great Escape, done by Ubisoft. And personally, I liked the old Ubisoft logo, but this is a great 3D platformer that had a lot of love and attention. And the levels and a lot of the gameplay is just solid and has aged very well, I think, compared to many other games. So I'm definitely looking forward again to play the considered to be the definitive version of this game. Next up, we're going to a more action platformer type of game. A game I've heard of, but I've actually never played. Weirdly enough, it was done by Midway, which is interesting. It's called, of course, Haven. Call of the King. Like it says, it's more or less, it is a platformer, but it's an action platformer, action-adventure type of game. You do have a lot of elements. It's not one of the greatest games of this era. That would probably go to games like Jak and Daxter, specifically Jak and Daxter 2, really stands out to me. But I am actually looking forward to eventually get around to finally try this game out for the first time. As I've heard at least more positive than negative on the game, but overall it does seem to be somewhat mixed opinions on this game. Next up, the second right now recent PS2 pickup is Escape from Monkey Island. Now, I'll be honest, I've never played the original Monkey Island games, so it is nice to get a chance to actually try one of the original games, of course done by, at the time, LucasArts, which was highly respected, and this was a classic series originally for the PC, a point-and-click type of games. But it was interesting to see like a full 3D style game, but also the fact it would also get a console port is one of the things that makes Escape from Monkey Island interesting. But I am actually genuinely looking forward to trying this game out. Sharing curiosity and the love that this franchise has had, and given recently a new Monkey Island game finally has been released. Next is the only recent original Xbox pickup, which I talked about already in my original Xbox collection video. Dreamfall, which is a very unique and interesting game of this time period. Very different than many other games of this time frame. I personally do find it interesting, and I think more people should check out games like this. As you see there, like, it's basic, available in 480p, not the greatest, but keep in mind, there were some original Xbox games that could play in 720p, like Soul Calibur 2. But still, this is a great game, and it's a very unique experience, which is one of the reasons I consider this a must-collect for original Xbox fans. Next, we have 4 GameCube pickups, and then that'll be it for this special retro edition. First of which, we have a really cool double pack of PacMan Versus with also PacMan World 2. Which, in many people's opinions, PacMan World 2 is the best of the World series. Now, personally, I do have a definite retro and, like, nostalgia fondness for the original World, but still, this is great. And PacMan Versus is a unique game that would allow you to also plug up a Game Boy Advance as well, with 2 to 4 player, like, multiplayer and stuff, could control, like, ghosts and stuff, which gave it a very unique and interesting experience unto itself, unlike any really other Pac-Man game since. But this is, I consider, a great must-own platformer experience on the GameCube. Now, a recent pickup is a game that's somewhat controversial among, like, Spyro fans. Now, personally, I have no experience outside the original Spyro trilogy for the PS1, so I am interested in trying some of the not-so-beloved and also collect some of the more very well-liked iterations of Spyro games from the 6th console generation. The first on my list, because I found it for a good price, mint condition, I chose Spyro Enter the Dragonfly, as it is definitely considered one of the more controversial games of the series. And if you want to know, definitely, this game had a lot of craziness and stuff in its development. A lot of craziness, hectic, like, there was so much drama that went in behind the scenes of the development of this specific Spyro game. So it's no surprise that it's become a somewhat very controversial title in the franchise as a whole. But I'm going to not let people judge the game. I'm going to play it for myself. That's the type of person I am. At the end of the day, I was that way with Anthem, remember. Everyone bashed on Anthem. I ended up finally giving the game a shot, and I actually had a lot of fun. I'll be honest, the gameplay of Anthem is a blast. So, you can't always just judge by what the large census is overall. Second to last It's a game that needs really no introduction, as I already have this on the Dreamcast and the original Xbox, but it's nice to have it now on the GameCube. I would like to also get my hands on the PS2 version and have all the ports of Capcom Versus SNK 2, though this is EO edition like the original Xbox, which had extra stuff added, bonus features and things for that makes it easier for like newcomers to try the game. And that's good to try bringing new players. And some I appreciate about this game. It's definitely a blast. It still plays great to this day. I still think probably the original Xbox is maybe the best version of the game, though there is definitely some about playing the original experience on the Japanese import Dreamcast version of the game. But with that said, last but not least, is one of the most unique experiences you'll ever find on the Nintendo GameCube. A very bizarro game to say the least that requires a special microphone, the way the game actually works. It plays sort of like a strategy battle type of game combined with like pinball and based on also sounds and things. It's just a really bizarre, weird experience, and it's very unique. It's one of those experiences you can only find on like the GameCube or like unique stuff like Seaman on the Dreamcast. That's one cool thing about the 6th generation. You had some very unique and fascinating game experiences. This is easily one of the most bizarre and unique experiences you could find of the 2000s. But with that said, I'll see y'all next time. Same YouTube time, same YouTube channel, and Happy New Year. And hopefully we have a better 2023 than the last few years. But we'll see. Hopefully enjoying the music in the background from Ocarina of Time. But I'll see you again soon enough.